Yeah, when you get brought in, like, yeah, last year, you should have showed up by now.
This guy was.
She was,
There is.
Working, so your county commissioner and he's a county employee.
And,
she was, I don't care. You know,
she said that he pushed that on council.
Yeah,
I'm not on council, but it's just that.
for sure, yeah.
I tried to try, but he had work for him.
Oh.
And I couldn't get him to work. Yes.
And to round things out, I'm on my way over there in 95 and a semi kicked a nice big rock right into my windshield.
It was a letter that they said they put in my mailbox. Maybe it's, oh, maybe the more stuff on the big view.
Well,
They got some pictures of it.
did they make a jump over it?
Let's change our agenda.
Did it make a jump? Did it make? Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I looked at it and I was thinking, oh, you know, just maybe a little chip. I'm like, nope, it's like that big.
Yeah, we just sure.
I shouldn't have safe light in the contacts, you know, or.
Just fix that.
We'll see if we can. Usually they do a pretty good job of it, yeah. Yeah, when you have people fix your clock, I had a replacement.
I'll try it. I have quite.
Man, the first time I couldn't see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what they use, but it's not the same as what the dealers do, that's for sure. Yeah. Cause I caught one that I thought I could just had.
This meeting to order. It is 7 p.m.
Like there was a film on the windshield back, yeah, yeah.
If we could all start with a moment of silence. And if we could all keep Councilwoman Davis in our thoughts along with her family. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a reminder, if you have a cell phone with you, please make sure that it is off or on silent. City Clerk Domingo, if you'll take roll call first, please.
Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Reed, present, Jackson,
Here.
Lawler,
Here.
Davis, French,
Here.
and there's Snyder.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve of the agenda? So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, so we will begin our meeting this evening with a proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which is April 9th through the 15th. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone contact the Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each public safety telecommunicator has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Albion declares the week of April 9th through the 15th, 2023 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Next, we have a presentation by Rebecca DeFinta. Yes, did I say that correctly? All right, in regards to our Calhoun County Senior Services.
Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have a representative here from our Calhoun County Dispatch Authority? Represent the proclamation. You already have.
Good evening, everyone. My name, like she said, is Rebecca DeFinta with Calhoun County Senior Services. I just wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about, we just finished our 2022 annual report. This past year, we served 6,760 seniors in Calhoun County. That is even more than pre-pandemic. So we're very proud of that number. We did 15 mini grants and 2 senior strategic projects which directly assist seniors and better their lives. We have a map on the inside that we're very proud of, because if you look at it, the yellow townships are less than 10%, or 10%. Everything else is darker, which means we are serving more people in the rural outreaches of our county, which we're very proud of. And as you can see, Albion is really good. That dark blue, we are serving the most out of the whole county. So great. We are very happy about that number. We've had several, about 6 different special events last year. Calhoun County Senior Fair, which was well attended. We moved it to the Kellogg Arena, which is where it's going to be again on May 18th, because it was a larger area and we were concerned with COVID, of course. So it gave us more room to spread out and add more vendors. So it's a very popular event. We encourage anyone in the community to come out, even if you aren't 60 or older, if you have a loved one that is, or you're a caretaker. There's lots of information for people that are caring for their loved ones that are older than 60. We also had our first annual Takacha Health and Safety Fair. There again, for our rural outreach, we wanted to be able to service the east side of the county. That was also very well attended. That was at the fire station. We are currently doing our centenarian project interviews right now. We've interviewed, I believe, 6 centenarians, new centenarians this year. We've got a few more to go. I'm sure that everyone knows who Robert Holt is. He was our cover person last year for our brochure, because basically what we do is we go out, we gather their stories, we get professional photos taken of them, and then we compile them in a booklet that the families can share. Then we can share with the community, and then we have basically drove a party, which will be on July 21st at the Marshall United Methodist Church. It's a great project. It's kind of taken a life of its own. It's just been really well received, and it's a great way to celebrate aging and hear about the stories that they have that we only read about in history books. So we're very proud of that. And then lastly, I just wanted to remind everybody that we have about 20 different programs that are funded through Senior Village. We are coming out with new brochures, just the printer today. But there's still the same programs in it. So if you know anybody or you yourself could use some of these programs, some of them are non-income tested, some of them are. So on the back side is the income limits for it. It's 250% of the poverty level, which we had raised last year because We felt that we could serve more people that way, especially since you have those people that are not low enough to qualify for a lot of programs, but don't make quite enough to be able to afford certain things. So we wanted to capture those middle people. And finally, I think that part of our success last year was our senior ambassadors program. We had we're up to 18 senior ambassadors now. And basically what they are is they're volunteers. We bring them into our office once a month. And we educate them on the different programs that we have and other things like through the County 20 VA. And Dave Gilbert came in and spoke about scams. So we educate them and then they go back to their communities and they help people about the different things that they've learned. And we really think that that is a great way to communicate what we need to get out to the seniors in our community so that they can live healthy, vibrant lives and be able to do it in their home. So that's basically all I have. I have bookmarks that show you when the fair is for on May 18th. So we'd love to see you all there. It's a free event. And if people, you know, somebody that wants to go, but they just can't drive or they don't have a car, community action, we will be providing free rides to them. All they need to do is call the number that's on the.
Do we have any questions for Councilwoman Holly?
Thank you so much. This may just be a comment or information for your organization also, but there's a barrier in my think about elderly receiving information, and I'm trying to work on it. So this past weekend, there was a company in Albion by the name of MacB. They cater to people that are on SNAP program, Medicaid, and I can't remember what else was a qualifying thing for this program, but they give out tablets, and the tablets are good for 5 years, free internet service for 5 years. So I'm working on that, and I should get an email maybe like tomorrow. And if I could have some information to pass along to you and the rest of my council members, because I'm trying to bring these people to not being selfish, but it is a barrier, and I'm trying to bring them to the fore to see if I can help the need in my precinct. So if you have city manager, have her information.
You have a
and pass
card.
it along to you, and you can pass it along to the council and maybe her also.
Yep.
Okay.
So her card was attached to the packet, was it? That's the main.
Okay, yep, I got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is really, and they were at Peabody Place. I don't know if anybody knew about it, but they were at Peabody yesterday.
And
You know where they're
that be?
That's the name of the computer.
Oh.
So that is, I'm thinking it's gotta be, this program got to be called MacB, because when they turned it on, this right here came up on
Now, is it?
on their tablets.
Is it a regular tablet? Because I know that we had something that we funded called grant pads, through PACE, or PACE, senior health
Partners.
partners, thank you.
Well, good.
And we
Senior care partners.
funding 100 grant pads, and basically they take the program to cater to whatever that senior is interested in, and it's very simple to use. You can use it for telehealth, you can use it to connect with your family with FaceTime. They can play games on there, they can listen to sportscasts. And
Is
things
that
like
free
that.
internet? Because this one's free internet.
Through the PACE program, it is.
5
it's
years.
free. The PACE picks up the charge for
Okay.
the monthly fee.
Okay.
And then I also know that Carewell Services, it's only in Battle Creek right now, they had 50 of them. Where they could give 50 people free internet access and
Okay.
one of these grant pads.
Okay, so this one is like through a program called ACP from the government. And if you qualify, you this can't be, I can't overlook it because there's a need in my precinct, but
There's a need all.
I know I'm a little selfish, but
We've been talking about this for about a year now, where we feel like
okay.
trying to get seniors connected with people that can assist them with technology and be able to provide technology that is easier for them to use. So that's out there. We are doing another round of strategic projects, and there are 2 asks for those types of grant pads again, and it is PACE that's asking for additional grant pads. So we're in the process of reviewing their past, so.
Awesome.
Yeah, we know it's out there,
Yeah.
we're trying, but it would be nice to have something that's not just associated with a program,
Mhm.
because you have to be able to qualify for PACE.
Yeah.
And they use them within their facility, so.
So could you use this information to give out to others?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
We have our ears open, we would be more than happy to hear about anything that somebody might have that we might have overlooked or not know about.
Right.
Because that's our goal, is we're trying to make life better for seniors in Calhoun County, and it's. There's constant change and there's constant need, and so we're always looking for new and innovative ways of being able to provide services for them.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other council members have questions before she leaves? All right, we appreciate that information.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up, we have Miss Denisha Brewer, who is here to give us a YMCA update.
Hello, everyone, my name is Danish Brewer, and today I'm here on behalf of the YMCA. I would just like to start off by saying this past year has been quite interesting. We have had many changes within our programming. The first change is with our aquatics program. We recently partnered with Hampton Aquatics because we were having quite the time finding lifeguards and instructors who will be able to sustain the program that we need. So now we just had free lessons for, I'd say, a little bit over 50 participants over spring break. And it really showed that this partnership is going to work. I know that Audrina is looking to also add regular free swim lesson programs throughout the spring and the summer. We do still have a really strong water spots there. We see an average of about 30 or so participants. Thanks to the Albion area philanthropic women, we've had an increase in our attendance due to the assessments that were provided. So we're very grateful for that. Overall, I think that we're seeing a pretty good turnout in our classes. We do average about 25 to 30 participants for most of our classes. We're still looking to grow and some of the other programs. However, it fluctuates in the seasons, within different seasons. And we also are looking to grow our participation or our involvement with youth in the community. Youth are encouraged to participate in all of our classes that we do offer. However, I know last time I was here, I was really big on wanting to create partnerships in the community because I did not want to step on anybody's toes in the work. And that has been interesting, but we were able to provide financial assistance from anywhere to $1,000 to $5,000 to organizations such as 4-H, Creative and Expressive Arts, the SOA organization, the pool organization. I know we partnered and did some work with different makers, which actually turned out nice. We had a sports camp and they were able to come over. And then also goes to why we've also provided funding for substance abuse prevention program and also product COVID. So we're still looking to strengthen those partnerships, but most of our work you have been done through Playwright Sports Academy. We provide funding there, so we were able to have a pretty successful T-ball season. We've done flag football. We're in the middle of our basketball season. So we're really trying to figure out new and innovative ways to make sure that we are partnering. For me personally, I would love it if I could create some time to meet with you individually or the city manager, because I want to know more about what the city needs are. I know we need to increase our volunteerism in order for us to do more in the community, because most of the time it is just me. And we do have instructors and different people who we work with, but if we had a strong volunteer base and some backing, I think that we could be able to offer even more. We're looking to do another cleanup over the summer. So right now, we are going to enroll that program because we're looking to hire between 10 and 15 youth that's in high school age, so that we can get them started, because I know that that's an issue in our community. And I think that is pretty much where we are right now with the YMCA.
Do you have any questions for Councilwoman Waller?
Thank you so much. Did you bring something? No, not pictures, but a schedule for the summer. Okay.
Yeah. Because we are monthly schedules. And so right now we are operating 5 days a week. And hopefully we'll get back to 6 days a week because we have meditation Mondays that are in the works right now. So we're trying to get those back.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. I can run out schedules. Tuesdays we have a walk-in talk at 9 a.m. So if you have the time, you can come out and do a walk-in talk. Following that, we have Silver Stars that starts at 9:30. Later that evening, we have water aerobics starts at 6:15. Wednesdays, we have cardio drumming. Thursdays, we do water aerobics. Fridays is walk and talk, Silver Stars, and Saturdays we have group boxing. We also have hip hop night as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you have your summer schedule started yet?
I am working on some of this.
For children, not.
Children, yes, for the children, that's exactly it, because we're working on another 6-week program. So the Y traditionally does a 6-week camp, but the Y motto each week is a different subject. Here in Albion, last year we did a sports camp. So we're trying to figure out ways where we can kind of combine the two mottos.
Okay.
Yes,
Do you know like the hours that you're gonna run?
it will more than likely be 9 to 2.
Any other questions?
I need to know your swimming. I'll leave you alone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikki. And lastly, we have Director Arnold giving us information on the Planning Commission annual report.
Well, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Typically, this should be brought to you by your Planning Commission Chair. But last meeting that they were at, where we would have talked about this plan with him, or this report with him, he was out sick. So here I am. I hope I'll do for you tonight. And next year, when we come back, we'll make sure to have me and George up here together. So right now, we're just looking at the Planning Commission annual report covering activity from January 1st of 2022 through December 31st of 2022. And we are going to keep up from now on. I'm giving you regular annual, keyword annual reports. So the Planning Commission, of course, derives its power from the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, which there's some information in the text of the plan. I won't bother reading for you there, but essentially what the Planning Commission does is they lead our master planning process, what we call here our comprehensive plan, as well as making changes to our zoning ordinance based on that master plan to turn the values stated in the master plans to land use regulation or zoning ordinance. They're also responsible for reviewing development requests in the form of special use permits, site plans, and certain other administrative approvals that we send their way based on our zoning ordinance. Right now, the biggest thing I should express to you for the current state of the Planning Commission is that you should view them as a resource. We have pretty short meetings.
Yeah.
Tuesdays, third Tuesday of the month. I think our record was something about 6 minutes, I think. And I know that I might be alone in the Planning Commission's regular attendance here, but I think we could go a little longer than that. I think we could really get into some meaty issues that help tear apart and build back up what we have on our books here. So going forward, if there are special projects that you want looked into related to, we had some discussions, at least in the study session, about housing. Target market analysis that was done in 2015 was brought up. If you're interested in answering some more broad questions about housing like that, you could certainly put your planning commission to work on that, and I'm sure they'd be happy to do that to assist council in any decisions that they have. Of course, the planning commission is not a legislative body like the council, so it's just their recommendation, and I think that's well, I'd certainly love to spend more time with them in that regard for sure. In terms of site plans from this last year, we had 3 up for review, one of which was a special use for the expansion of the Wildflower Crossing manufactured housing park that's on the northwest side of town here. That is going well.
I have it on good authority from our building official that it's the best constructed manufactured housing park he's ever seen, which I think is, if you found it worth saying, I'm glad it's here.
Yeah.
They additionally reviewed a site plan for 1007 Industrial Avenue for expansion on a current on an existing industrial building to add about 10,000 square feet more of industrial space. That building's currently being used for a marijuana growing and processing facility. And best thing about industrial space like that is that at the end of the day, we use words like industrial space. We're talking about a pole barn. So we got 20,000 square feet of pole barn sitting out there for what the folks are using it for today and what they might use it for tomorrow. So anytime we have a site plan like that really goes forward and puts a lot of usable, occupiable, habitable square feet to work in our town, I think that's a reason to celebrate. As you go through the report here, if you have it in front of you in your packet, you'll see attendance. This does not include absences that commission members were excused for. This is just the raw attendance numbers. The reason I bring that up is that there are requirements for the planning commission, similar though not as strict as the ones for council on attendance to those meetings. So as you go through that spreadsheet, if you see any numbers that give you pause, just know that you're looking at the raw attendance for the year so that you know how many meetings we really had. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then also after that, there's a summary of the meetings that were held in 2022 and what was discussed at those meetings. If you see things being repeated, this is exactly where I'm asking that we inject a little activity into our planning commission as the council sees fit. Happy to facilitate whatever requests you have for them. Of course, I keep looking at the mayor and Councilmember Reed here because they're some of our regular attendees, but glad to have anyone in the audience out today or any of the council members out to our planning commission meetings to see what goes on there. On the back, you'll have master plan status and zoning ordinance amendments and rezoning for the year. Master plan status is that we adopted our master plan, our comprehensive plan in September of last year. And that we'll be looking again at updating it 5 years from now. But that's an open invitation in my book for council, residents and anyone else to take a look at our comprehensive plan, take a look at our zoning ordinance, identify anything in there that they think the commission needs to take a second look at, good, bad, or otherwise. And now is the time to bring it forward so that we can get a head start on the next half decade's plan. And at the end of there, the only amendment to the zoning ordinance last year was related to the marijuana overlay districts that we had put in place over the industrial park. If you're interested, April 11th is our next planning commission meeting. We've got a special use up for review there, as well as a rezoning request, which we've not had since I've been here. And that will be a formal amendment process to our zoning ordinance. So council will see that one way or the other if you want a sneak peek. April 11th. Happy to take any questions. And I would say for a great deal of them, I'd be happy to go back and get some planning commission feedback, or if it's something I can field, have that.
Councilman French.
So 4 of your 8 or 9 committee members are in expired terms. Is that mean that there are 4 openings, or their terms have been sort of extended because they've not said no and therefore?
I think a healthy mix of both. Those were the dates as Jill and I last had them. Okay. We need to go through and of course there are some expired terms there at least half. I don't know exactly per commission member what their course of action will be moving forward, but
that's an April agenda item then?
Not, I believe, the condition of appointments, no, but yeah, I mean, it's
Clean it up.
if you have volunteers to take the place of the folks who are, I would say, going on since 2019 when their term expired and continuing to provide their service. We've got no shortage of spots for volunteers in the planning commission, the building authority. Yeah, if you know volunteers, we'd love to put them to work, and we are taking a closer look at when those planning commission terms expire. Obviously, most of them are.
Ask them to update the application.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know two of them are not interested in renewing, but they are continuing to serve until someone else has been
Oh, okay.
appointed to replace them.
Any other questions for Director Arnold?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we're opening up to public comment. So if there's anybody in the gallery that would like to address council in regards to an agenda item, you may do so at this time.
Hi, my name is Bridgie Ammerman. I live at 305 East Main Street in Homer. And I'm currently the president and CEO of the Albion Economic Development Corporation. And I very much appreciate being here and thank you all for your service. Very much appreciate the work that goes in to running a city. I know city manager and I share texts and emails and phone calls often, so thank you. On the issue of the interlocal agreement, which is on the agenda, I would like to make a couple of comments. One, at the last EDC meeting, the EDC chairperson asked Mayor and I to make sure we got together between meetings and came up with a proposal. So this, and we did have a housing committee meeting, and I do have some notes if anyone would like to see that. So we did have some council people there and we did have some EDC people there. And of course, since it's a housing committee of the EDC, anyone can come to those. So we'll continue to have those frequently to get feedback, but if anyone would like to see those from that, Councilperson Davis asked me to look at the resolution that had been presented and restructure it as an interlocal agreement, which I did do. I did have the EDC council review it, and then Cullen gratefully did also review it. And I think that's what you have in front of you now, and I appreciate Councilperson Jackson for bringing it forward. To answer a couple of the questions that have been brought up, I'm not sure about the carve out for low income housing because the Housing Commission does manage 220 units of housing. That is only 40% or less of the total affordable units for rental, but this agreement does not address managing properties. This agreement is really meant to manage the planning and strategizing and development of new projects. So I think if you can go back and review the language, I think you'll see it has nothing to do with property management. The EDC board is in favor of this agreement, and I did talk to the chair before I came tonight, and he is in favor of the agreement as it stands. We know there'll be no compensation. Part of the reason we did this was because we knew the EDC could manage this without additions to the budgets. And I'm out of time on that topic, so I will say I appreciate the planning commission meeting. I did try to submit an item to get on that agenda, and I was told I didn't do it correctly, so I would like to know how to get on that agenda, and I have submitted my application for a number of boards and I haven't heard anything back. And so thank you so much for your time.
She's really good at getting it in 3 minutes. Let me tell you. You're the pro, Jenny.
All right, next on our agenda, we have consent calendar items. So in your package, you have the March 20th study session minutes along with the regular session minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, we have our second reading of ordinance 2023-03 for the registration of rental units. Director Arnold, would you like to lead that discussion, please?
So moved.
Did I get a motion of support?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna stand right here.
So moved.
Support. Aye.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, thank you for moving and supporting on that. Be happy to see this move forward. What you have in front of you is the second reading of an amendment to our rental registration ordinance, which was adopted earlier this year by council. This amendment is purely administrative. We're changing the date every year that rental property owners are required to submit their registration for the properties that they own from the end of March, beginning of April to end of September, beginning of October. I think we have it as October 1st. And the why we had it set in March in the first place was because it was going to fall in line well with a regular construction season and ideally before March boards of review. And so if there was any issues between rental properties that we believed to be rentals, then finding out that the PRE exemption that we're using to determine whether or not it's a rental is inaccurate. We scheduled it originally for March, the registration date, to deal with those problems during that time of year. It was going to get way too messy, as explaining it almost has. So that will be in September now, end of September, beginning of October there. It's going to make the year flow a little bit better for the planning department and our assessors. And right now, in our first year of adoption, it's going to give all of the rental property owners an extra 6 months between now and when their registrations are due, and which time we hope to spend the next 6 months being as open and as transparent as possible about this ordinance with renters and property owners alike, and happy to provide any additional information on that ordinance that I can in the future to anybody and everybody who will ask. Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to make sure I understand, because I know they're gonna come at us like I don't know what. So the registration,
Yes, ma'am.
the fees. So going on page 22. Let's just go, just give me like a little more information, especially at number 3 with them every year. Now 2, every year they're going to come in and allow you guys register their property. So each time they have to pay.
Yes.
And
Councilwoman Lawler.
thank you so much. But the reason why you're doing that is because it may change
Yeah,
every year, right?
it could change multiple times in a year.
Okay.
And you might have someone, ask to rescind their license. Basically, by registering and passing the inspection, the property gets a license that allows you to rent in it. And so the registration and the inspection are both on different timelines. The inspection's every 3 years, and that has a higher fee, of course, because we're paying for the inspector's time. And then the registration is every year, so that we have an accurate count, at least yearly, of where our rentals are.
Got you. That sounds good to me. I just want to say thank you so much for standing strong on this for Albion, for Albion's need for this. I know you've been picked on a lot, but thank you for standing strong on this.
Attorney Harkness.
Just so council's aware, I know several council members have expressed concern over the fees associated with this. What I can tell you is one of my other municipalities fairly recently did a rental registration ordinance, and they had a slightly higher fee than the city of Albion for their first year, and then they ended up raising it because they found it was woefully insufficient to cover the costs of administering the rental registration. So what Albion has set for a fee right now is pretty modest in light of things. So just wanted you to have that additional info.
Any other questions for Director Arnold?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed. Yes. Jackson.
Yes.
Lawler.
Yes.
Brent.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Next, do I have a motion to approve the 2023 council goals?
So move.
Support.
City Manager Slater.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So, Council, we held our Saturday work session on Saturday, February 4th with Greg Guidance LLC. We participated in several exercises to generate information to develop goals and strategies that we would like to implement for fiscal year 2023. Mr. Guchau, he provided us with a final report, and within that final report kind of gave us an overview of the conversation that was had during that work session. And then internally, the executive team, we met, we kind of evaluated all of the information that was in that report, and per the recommendation of that final report, we identified 4 key areas to focus on in 2023. And those key areas are improving infrastructure and city services, making Albion a destination, build and strengthen strategic partnerships, strengthen financial position, and increase capacity to respond to challenges. And now included in your packet, you'll find the final report from city administration. So within underneath each of those focus areas, we've identified key objectives that we can work to accomplish to get us to accomplishing that overall focus area that you all have put as what you would like to see our community get to. So now we're just kind of looking for feedback from the council to prioritize those key objectives. As I stated in the study session, there may be many high-level priorities within each key area, but not saying that they're not important, but that some may be just later, focused on later in the year. Happy, I've noted down all the feedback that I got from you all in the study session. Happy to answer any questions or take an additional feedback. Councilman French?
It occurred to me between our study session and now that I'd like to add another key objective to focus area 1.
Okay.
And I will preface those remarks by spinning a tale of woe. My sewer line backed up in my basement. And we called a company to come and take a look at it. And we contacted the city, and we were told that the city has no record of our sewer line. And therefore they are not responsible. And so we spent $15,000 to have our garage dug up where a trap was discovered. They were able to put a camera down and discovered 300 feet of sewer line. And the plug was 300 feet away from my house. And I'm expected to pay for that, even though it wasn't on my property. And the city claims no responsibility. Now, that's the water department sewer guys. Kevin has said that they found, when the company went through, they found a T that connects to the street that was paved over when Brockway was redone. They are going to dig out and find that and be able to then figure out where the sewer line goes. So I would like to add priority 3, that our cities spend time and resources identifying all existing sewer lines in the city. It is their responsibility, because I've been paying for 25 years for them to know where my sewer line is. And so I'm very happy with what Kevin's comment was. I'm not happy with the person who told me and showed me a map that doesn't have a sewer line on it. That's not an excuse. And so I think we need, and this has happened to members in other precincts. I remember, Len, you and I were on council and someone came and talked about their tile collapsing. I'm fine with paying it. I think it's not something we need to be. We should not be saying, oh, we have no idea where it is. We need to be working on it. And Kellen's going to comment.
Attorney Harkness.
And I know that this is a frustration that some council members have had and members of the public have had, but just so the council's aware. There's a provision in the state governmental liability statute regarding negligence. And it's specifically drafted in a way to, I don't want to say absolute immunity, but pretty darn close for municipalities. So the only way that a municipality such as the city of Albion can be on the hook when what's described as a sewerage event, which is basically sewage backing up into people's businesses, homes, whatever, is it has to be, within Albion. There has to have been a defect with the system. We have to have known about it and or should have known about it through reasonable diligence. And then if we know about it, we would have had to have, then knowing about it, failed to take action to correct it. And only if all those criteria are met is the city legally obligated to pay for sewage events. So,
and I'm going to argue that negligence, and whether the city is responsible or not, based on not knowing, is unacceptable. I don't mind having to pay for it. I get that. But I think that us willfully not going out and finding where our sewer lines are is negligence. Whether they have to pay for a blockage is irrelevant. It's negligence on the part of the city, not knowing where its infrastructure is. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
But that, and I will say, Dr. French, as your legal advisor. That's a double-edged sword, because if you go out and identify those things and the city becomes aware of it. And the city is either unable to do so financially or otherwise, if something happens, we are then
Yep.
waiving our liability. So that is a dangerous road to go down legally.
I understand, but I'm gonna say what is right for the citizens of Albion may or may not be the cheap way to go. And I think that if we as a city are going to increase our housing and help people and attract people to move into Albion and build property or expand existing property without the knowledge of where their sewer line goes, what are we saying to citizens? What are we saying to citizens? So I understand the liability costs, but I would rather our city know than not know. That's the right thing to do. So.
Just a question, so. Was your suggestion to put it in the A, B, and then that be C, or down below?
Key objective, right below, identify solutions for roads and identify and replace lead and copper water mains. And number 3, identify existing wastewater lines within the city of Albion.
Do you want it under the second key objective, or I was thinking it would be,
Focus area 1.
I was thinking to create it'd be its own objective.
Yeah.
It is its own objective.
Right, right. I
It's the
think-
third one. Under focus area 1, the objective number 1 is identify solutions to address road conditions, identify construction projects.
Mhm.
Second one is identify and replace lead and copper water mains.
Oh, okay, I
And
get it.
then adding a third one, identify existing wastewater sewer lines within the city of Albion.
Yeah,
Oh, I know, I see that, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the additional one, so
Yeah.
It has a D.
Yeah.
I got you.
Can we do a recap, Ms. Mayor?
So on top of the additions that we had requested during the study session, we are also putting in an extra goal of identifying all existing sewer lines in the city.
Okay.
Which is that gonna be letter E of identify and replace lead and water mains?
No,
We're gonna do
it's-
that its own,
It's its own separate one.
its own separate, okay.
So now, focus area 1 will have 6 key objectives with that.
Yeah, so it's gonna be another one like that. Yep.
Okay.
You did it right.
But doesn't, in order for us to replace the lead and copper lines, don't we also have to know where our lines are anyways?
So the letter for that involves our water main line. So this is completely separate than our sewer lines. So, okay.
Going in versus water going out.
Yeah.
All right, any other additions or questions in regards to our 23 strategic goals?
No more than, sorry.
Yes. Mayor
So-
Pro Tem Jackson.
Yes, on 29, you did already put in what they talked about, the development at the top.
Mhm.
Additionals, you already had that in there as well. Okay. And then the equitable. Okay.
I got a question.
Yes.
Prioritizing the goals. Are we going to do that today, or are we gonna do that at a different meeting?
Now,
It was the hopes to do it at tonight's meeting. That's why we sent it out to everybody.
Just a question.
Yep,
just a question.
so now within those key objectives, just which one of those, so focus area 1 has 6. Out of those 6, what do you feel are top priority that we should be focused? There's gonna probably be a lot of top priority items, so I'm not saying that if it's lower on the list that it's not a priority, but
Councilman French?
So looking at focus area 1, I think the lead and copper water main lines A through D are probably should be one of our top priorities in that area. I think,
Councilman French, can I say something?
sure.
Have the funding and the plan for that, is that already in place?
for the lead and copper,
Yeah,
we're in the process of identifying a percentage of them. But then no, we have until 2040 to replace them. So we have time to identify the funding to
Okay.
actually
all right.
replace.
So, yeah, so I'm just going at key objective 1. I would put that at first. And then continued maintenance and improvements to city buildings and public spaces. Again, trying to make ourselves attractive and maintain the things that are important. Do we want to go through each of the focus areas separately, or do you just want my opinion on all of them? There you go. There you go. That, good, good,
Focus area
good.
1.
Excellent.
Only
We have
one.
6.
Mhm.
We need to prioritize. But I would agree with Councilman French, definitely the water lines would be a top priority for me as well.
Number 6, we just talked about.
I would agree, I would
Yeah,
agree.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
That's the number 6 we just added.
No, that's the sewer lines that we added, the water, lines, the drinking water. lines.
so that's
The
under,
identify and replace.
correct. That's under the key,
That's just, yeah, he just got done.
and then the second one, you see it on page 27. Identify and replace.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement that should be a top priority, the water lines?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
a secondary,
Okay,
6 to pick from.
When there may be more than one.
Top priority.
Yes.
Then that would be the element. then.
Is any of this low hanging fruit? Like, is the dam feasibility study like almost done?
Yes, they
So-
just have to do one final round of testing, which will be done in spring.
Yeah, so we can make that priority 2, because that's gonna get done.
I would think with it already being almost done, we probably could put it towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as city staff, how much more work do we have?
Right,
You get what I'm saying?
right. I get it. I just don't want it to, if we make it a 6th priority.
You don't want it to.
We don't want them to like, stop, like, well, the priority is somewhere else. We're not gonna spend time and get it done. I'd rather spend what little time we have on it and get it done and call it a
Be done
win.
with it, yeah.
I got you. Okay, identify solutions to address road conditions and identify construction project. Now, it's kind of a toss up between that one and the extend infrastructure, the new industrial park. I know the new industrial park will definitely hit on, you know, the investment in public infrastructure at a, you know, as one of the major points. But that heavy lifting of the roads is still a big one. Still a
It
big one.
is.
Yeah.
And we threw a lot at it last year. We didn't, you know, necessarily hit the mark, not for exhausting every option that we possibly had at the
Right.
time.
If I could, I would recommend that would probably be up at the top of the list, because I'm sure you all have heard from your constituents on. That is definitely a priority for our residents to address our road conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to put that up and. Like, not disagree with the dams, but I would like we can put that like in the middle, not at the end. but
No, I
like
hear
in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the roads and the infrastructure are very
Yeah,
important
absolutely.
now.
I also like the low hanging fruit about McIntosh and Stauffer Plaza, which is why I put that sort of toward the top. Again, it's relatively low hanging fruit that we can accomplish. We've been working on now solidly for a couple of years now. We're close to getting everything funded and paid for, so let's make that a priority so we can get that done.
On page 29, where it's talking about addressing the housing shortage, I know we've talked about that, developing and.
That's focus area too.
So we're we're staying on focus area 1,
Oh, we're still in number. Yeah.
staying on focus area 1.
2.5 seconds.
Okay, can you make me some opposed to say?
From,
So we doing the second one, with this one.
So we got two that we consider our top priority right now. We have one that's in the middle. We agreed on the dams that should be in the middle.
4, yeah, it is.
If they should be in the middle.
so if we broke it down by 1s, 2s, and 3s, based off conversation, I have. The first, so road would be a 1, lead and copper would be a 1. The dams feasibility study would be a 2. Public, the improvements to the public spaces would be a 2. And then the new infrastructure, I would say would be a 3, not saying that it's not a priority, but it's gonna take other steps to get to that point.
And
And then
sewer lines
I would
are
say that's-
number 3.
I would,
We gotta have a number 3. I made the list, I'm happy.
Well, was industrial park is also a 3, so sewer line, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, I get it.
Are we good with that, folks? Do that.
Can we go over the tools again?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, repeat them again.
yep, the 2s would be the identify a solution to address the dams and continued maintenance and improvements to city buildings and public spaces.
And then the 3s are industrial park and identifying the sewer lines. Councilwoman Raleigh.
Thank you so much. So as we go over this, is council, as council, are we able to put a cap on it? How long it'll take, how long we think it'll take? Do we ask our city manager how long she think it'll take for her to try to get some things done? Or
Well, these
just
are-
asking for like a cap,
So like multi-year, how, well,
you know, like, okay.
how long is it
she
gonna
might
take?
Say, you know, for priority number 1, you know, it's gonna take me probably about 6 months to a year, you know, or the next priority, it might take me 3 weeks to a month, you know, so, just
think
so
so.
she'll have like deadlines.
No,
you know,
I think
To
it's,
help her out.
I mean, and just speculatively, how long will it take? So when we look back at it, okay, we already know this gonna take 3 to 5 years.
And we can go off of her word though, because she the one gotta put all this into perspective, so we just wanna get her word about how long it could take her.
Councilman Prince.
As I think about this, the enormity of all of this, as we prioritize,
Study session?
no, I was thinking that we go through this every year, right? The goal is every year we do a strategic plan and we get an update from our city manager where things are and where they go. So I don't know if we need a timeline because some things are grant dependent and you know, she can say, we're going to get this done in 6 months and then the grant falls through and then is that a fail? I don't know. So I would prefer us to be thinking in terms of the longer term and say, let's prioritize what we want to do. And then get an update at the end of the year and come into new strategic planning. We can reprioritize those things that are done are off the list, things that aren't done, we can move up, or things may change, right? We could have a disastrous something happen and we need to like shift focus and move in a different direction. But I think that I'm not sure how I feel about putting a time limit on it because that lends to lack of flexibility.
And so these are what she and her team are gonna be focusing on for the year 2023. And she does bring back like updates every few months as to where they are on each of the goals. So kind of like what Councilman French, like heaven forbid a tornado comes through our town. That's totally gonna refocus what we do, like the city of Dundee got hit with a tornado. That changed their focus on and where their needs are going. So I mean, I agree with that, so these are priorities that we've set forth for her and her team for this year of 2023. And then hopefully, you know, they're able to attain the top goals and then give us kind of where they are. And hopefully we can also attain the number 2 priorities as well. So that's kind of Councilwoman Reed.
Well, since we haven't got over number 3, I'll go back to number 2, the focus area 2, making Albion a destination. I am also on the Calhoun County Land Bank Board, and I have brought this up again and again. Because when I see property listed on the land bank that people can buy to build houses on and things, I get my car and I go and I see it to see exactly where it is, what it is and everything. Albion is in such a shape until, if I was first, I would not buy a house. I would not buy a property. There are neighborhoods where the houses, you've got 3 or 4 run down, falling down houses. The rest of them need painting or fixing up, or the rest of them just have a lot of unused cars and stuff parked all around them with garbage cans and all that, until it's just a mess. I keep saying that we need to take a look at that, and we need to see where these areas are, because a lot of them have property that is listed in the land bank as property that can be purchased. But if I was a person coming looking for it, I would not, because if that's what my community was going to look like, I would not be buying any land there to build a house.
Are we moving
So-
off of focus area 1 now? Are we done with focus area 1?
Can I add something to the discussion? Okay, so I believe there has to be a better way for us to do this. Is it possible we table this discussion as far as ranking them until a later date? But what we do is in the study session, maybe an hour-long study session, we come with our actual rankings. And we just read them off as priorities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, so that we can make this more effective and more efficient for communicating that to the city manager. And if with proper consideration, certain timelines, I expect, well, like we discussed, the copper and sewer lead lines, right? We have a already set deadline from the state as far as how long we have to update that. Now, as far as a city, we would say, well, I know for a fact it would take us at least 20 years to get to all of these lines. You see what I'm saying? So that way there's no false perception of how much time we have or how soon we can address this issue. And then with that information, we're able to make a better assumption or a better determination of what our priorities truly are. You know what I mean? And then it's fair to the city staff, and it's fair to us to not do it in this way. Any feedback on that?
Yeah, I do. I have some feedback on that. To be honest, when I really read this and went through strategic goals, I took it already. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Right where you're at with the 4 that she listed. And if you go back to what we've already been saying, this is like the 1, 2, 3, and 4, basically. Okay.
You're talking about how it's already
Yes,
set
it's
up?
already set up. Because if you look into the improvement of the infrastructure and some of those are your top priorities that's inside of that need to be taken care of first. And then when you go down to the making Albion a destination, and yes, she can give us, I mean, I'm never gonna have her talk about 6 months or whatever, but a few years to say, well, maybe where she wants to go, okay? But if a disaster comes through, we can't hold her to it because we know we gotta change those things.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm
I
just
understand
saying.
what you said, but I'm
Okay.
saying, I heard you when you talked about, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, that maybe we should go back and, give her, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4s, or whatever again, but I'm just saying, that's just another session.
I mean, if you think we can make through it tonight, I mean,
I would kind of agree with Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Jackson. I think when the executive, when we sat down, we listened to the conversations that you all have in these meetings. And we take that back in the work that we do day in and day out. So when we prepared this, we kind of already not say that we know your priorities, but based off the conversation that we have here in these meetings, what feedback that we get from residents, that's kind of how we've laid it out. But obviously that can change if something really not.
Take a minute and
Okay.
let's read through this, yeah.
And focus area 2 is the only one with another multiple key
Yeah.
objectives, the rest
Yeah, if
just
you look
have
at-
one.
Yeah, if you look at 3 and 4, they're one, it's not like.
all right, let's do it. And how about we just call them off and then we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, but I just listed my point, guys.
No, I got you.
Yeah, so.
But so we know,
That she has right there is when she should start, and then the first one is improvement and can't even say it right now, got me like it.
well, let me say this, Mayor Pro Tem. If we just go through the bullet points and we rank it 1 through 6, the lowest number wins or is priority number 1. And that way we can actually move through.
So, okay, what I'm gonna say to you, and then you guys can decide. So if she has number 1 with infrastructure, okay, it has how many bullet points in there? Say,
6.
that's it. If she did 1, 2 out of there, we already discussed the top 2 we would like to see done out of there first. Okay, and then if we want to make an Albion a destination, what is the first 1 or 2 that you would like to see done? Out of them?
All right.
And then 3, building and strengthening strategic partnerships. What do you want to see done out of there first?
It sounds good.
Yeah,
Let's
you know
go.
what I'm saying? And then we can roll with it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Again, let's start.
Okay, so to recap from focus area 1.
Okay.
The top priorities
Yes.
are the road conditions and construction projects, along with the drinking water. Those were the top.
Yes. I
What
did find
we-
it, place later, yes.
At least from what I interpreted, our middle goals would be the dams, along with the city buildings and public spaces. And then what was that?
What was your number 3?
So we haven't gotten to 3s yet. So then our 3s,
I mean, but you said roads, improving drinking water, and then what?
so that would be our top 2.
Yeah.
Roads and drinking water. Okay, that's the top.
So they're
Okay.
both number 1.
They're both number 1s. What we consider middle goals, dams, city buildings, public spaces. And then what we consider level 3 goals, the industrial park infrastructure, along with identifying the existing sewer lines. That, am I recapturing that correctly?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
Is everyone on board with that?
That touches, I think that touches everywhere
We
we
haven't
want
done
to
it
go.
before yet.
Yeah, and that's not saying that, some might,
We make sure-
some might fluctuate, she might have to go to something else and do that before she can do to the one, if that's what comes up.
Where you at?
But I think that's just a good way to start right now, because we really got.
1.
So focus area 2.
What was the other 3? The identifying sewer
Water,
lines?
waste, sewer.
Yeah, and then the industrial park.
Yeah, industrial. Industrial.
So making.
Yeah.
Number 2, making Albion a destination. I think the first 2 should be priority 1. And developing enhanced community program number 2.
Developing what?
Develop an enhanced community programming is priority 2. Develop initiatives to address the housing needs. And on page 28, strengthen transparency and communication with residents should both be priority 1.
Okay.
So you on 2, did you hear that?
I'm on focus area 2 on page 28.
Yeah, so are you saying the development enhancement and the strengthening of transparency should be number 1, what you said? And
Yes.
then development of the home,
No,
number two?
no, just in order in which they're presented. So
Okay.
that's
All right.
28 is number one.
Okay,
Top,
that's why I was wondering, make
number
sure I
one.
did, okay.
And the development enhanced.
So the area, the way that they are already is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay, I agree with that.
1, and 2.
Develop initiatives to address housing shortage, or, we changed that, but housing
Right,
issue,
that's number one,
that's number one.
Along with the strength.
along with the one before, which is strengthening.
Transparency,
Both of those in the
Those
vote.
are both top priorities.
okay, communication before community programming, but
Well,
it's even killed because how do you know it's out there if you don't know it's out? Okay,
and we have the Y helping us with summer youth programs. So I think that we're covered.
Are we good with that one?
Mhm.
All right.
And the others all have one, so
Yep.
Yeah.
that makes it easy.
That makes it easy.
Are we good with that, folks?
That's all.
That's what you said, and then we.
No.
I will send out an
Be-
updated
No,
copy of
it's
this.
just probably-
That includes the ranking or the priority.
Send it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll update and send that out to everybody.
All right.
So we don't need to take any type of action on this.
I would say you need to.
You gotta
approve
approve
all
it.
the necessary
Gotta approve it.
Take action on it.
So what I was gonna suggest is, I mean, there was a motion and a second
Mhm.
before you had your discussion. What I would probably suggest is you do a motion to approve as you just outlined your priorities and vote on that rather than,
So who made the initial?
I did.
or you could do it like this to avoid confusion, just say vote on basically the amendment in terms of priority and then vote on your main question. That might be cleaner.
Councilman French?
I will move that we accept the changes as presented in our study section regarding language,
Yes.
and that we accept the prioritization as discussed in this meeting. Did I get it all?
I think we did, Doc.
Okay, that we discussed at this meeting. There we go.
there we go.
Now we need a second.
There we go.
Second.
Thanks.
City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Reed. Yes.
Yeah, she said yes.
French.
Yes.
Jackson. Yes. Waller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes,
And there's Carter.
Yes. Next is our discussion in regards to the housing champion agreement. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes, so once again, I guess are we all in agreement as far as just discussing before approving due to, with, our law Hartness has, indicated. So I just felt that it just made sense to not do a resolution, but come to some type of, interlock agreement with the city and the EDC so that they are, following through with the housing and whatever else they're going to do together. But basically right here is the initiative of housing the champion for the in-government agreement with the AEDC interlock agreement. So if there's anything else, you said you would send all the information to us, basically, that you're saying they didn't have enough meat in there.
Well, that's actually what EDC's attorney, the exact words that the EDC's attorney used was he said there weren't really any meat and potatoes to the original agreement. I mean, there's some question marks here and there are some in the agreement and you know, whether you talk about them tonight or whether you go home and you think about them and you come back and bring it back for a discussion or you email me about it, you know, I can always put together another draft, but I mean, Ms. Ammerman answered one of the questions in that the compensation is going to be set at none. One of the things the city's got to talk about is what are the city's duties under the agreement? Does the city have any duties under the agreement? One of the things that EDC is going to have to talk about is what are EDC's responsibilities and duties under the agreement, or will they have any? We need to come up with a term of the agreement, whether it's going to be a year, 2 years, multi-year. I mentioned there's got to be the carve out for the existing third-party contracts that we have with vendors, like the congressionally directed spending. Because that's somebody that's already doing, that we've already contracted with to do, for lack of better phrasing, just grant work on behalf of the city. And so we don't want to run afoul of the existing contract. I mentioned the housing commission, we want to have a carve out for them, and there's a reason for that. I know Ms. Ammerman addressed that. The housing commission manages property, and that's true, but that's not all they do. Under the state statute, the housing commission is responsible for determining what areas of the city there's going to be government subsidized housing and where those areas are going to be eliminated. And they're the ones that are authorized to purchase, lease, sell, exchange, enter into contracts for development of the property. So all that government subsidized housing falls under the purview of the housing commission. So we don't want to run afoul of the statutory duties that a housing commission has through this interlocal agreement. So, I mean, there's certain carve outs that I can build in, but there are those question marks in here, like what are the city's duties going to be?
Yeah,
If any. EDC is going to have to answer the question about theirs. We're going to have to set a term. One I put in there too, general consideration. I mean, kind of what I mean when I say general consideration is any contract for anything has to have what's called consideration, which means an exchange of something. And so, I think we need to spell out, what is being exchanged here. I mean, I know everyone kind of has an idea of what it is, but I mean, the current agreement doesn't just come out and say it. I mean, there's obviously going to be a benefit, hopefully additional housing for the city, but so, I mean, those are the areas that we've got to hammer out. I mean, before I would be comfortable recommending to council, here's an agreement that you can vote on for approval.
so I see.
Oh, go ahead.
I see 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 is where you have the questions at.
Okay,
So in light of the concerns of our city attorney, I would recommend that that the city attorney and the EDC and their representatives get together and craft an agreement until we see such a completed draft that's acceptable to our attorney, that we table this until that time.
any other questions?
Well, did you want to say something before I say, because I'm gonna say the word not table. It's a discussion, as we spoke before.
Well, what I was gonna say is, I can make suggestions about some of these, but ultimately council is gonna have to decide. I mean, I can. The difficult thing with doing a contract like this is normally in a perfect world, and this is just the attorney in me, is you get the input first and then you draft a contract rather than trying to clean up a contract on the back end and integrate what the info is supposed to be.
Just wait till.
So, I mean, I'm indifferent is in how we do this, whether you want to discuss it tonight or whether you want to discuss it at a later date. I mean, there's going to have to be feedback from both sides, but on some of these things, I can make suggestions and put things in, and then council can ultimately make a determination.
So let me clarify my table motion. That I'm asking that we table the approval of the interlocal agreement until such time as we have a draft that addresses the concerns that our attorney has.
Yes.
And the best way for that to be accomplished, in my opinion, is for him to work with the EDC and their representatives to find some agreement. I'm perfectly happy to continue discussion. I just want to make sure that the record shows that I do not wish to vote on this tonight.
Councilman Weeks?
Thank you. I'd like to just add something to the discussion, not about the table. Okay, so the EDC has been tasked with housing in the comprehensive plan as well as in their strategic plan as well. A interlocal agreement that, the thing that we have before us, right? Trying to define the roles of who's going to do what and who's going to take ownership of housing, basically. Something needs to be done so that we as a city know who to direct people to around housing and who will carry that person, the developer, from point A to point B. So looking at this document and knowing that it needs further input, I'm in agreement with you all as far as that goes. I definitely would like to see something done so we have some accountability somewhere in this housing and the work that needs to be done around housing, being the fact that it's being accelerated by the developments that's taking place, not only in our community, but the communities that surround us as well. Thank you.
Councilman Muller, did you?
No, he summed it up.
Okay, I mean, so I'm in agreement for just the discussion, as was said, but when I brought it to you guys, it did have your critique into it. So I'm just saying just to leave it as a discussion, and then when it is done, we bring it back, and if there's something the council wants to go forward, then we do. If not, then so be it. But I want all those answers.
All right, so then someone will just keep us updated.
Well,
Andy had the
Existing motion to table, so that we reject
the
motion to table, we table.
So we had a motion to table. I support.
well,
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
I could be mistaken, but I don't think there was a motion to approve.
No, it's not.
There's
That's
no-
why I keep trying to tell them.
There's
that.
no, there doesn't need to be a motion to table. So let me ask, while we've got council here, because maybe this will help facilitate some of this. Does anybody have a feeling about a term? I mean, realistically, the term isn't a super important thing because there's a termination clause that the agreement can be terminated for any reason at any time by either party. So whether you make it 1 year, 2 year, whatever, there's an out clause. So if it's not working out, either entity can get out.
Yeah, it's got to be multi-year.
So then what I would suggest is you start with 2 years and we'll put in a provision that can be renewed upon mutual agreement of the parties. And then you've got a termination clause that either party can terminate, for whatever reason they want. Does anybody have any strong feelings?
No, I would say at least two, at least.
Councilman
Any
Muller.
other people?
So I think what we're, and it might just be me, the confusion is what we should have did was just, when we accepted the agenda, we should have said, change number C to just discussion. Because when we left the approval, we all got confused. So I think it was just a little bit of misunderstanding. So it's just a discussion. Right?
So then another question to council, I mean, I built in a provision here so that there's going to be not less than quarterly reports to both the EDC and the city council, and it can be more as requested by either body. But my other question is what role, if any, and what responsibilities, if any, is the city going to have as it relates to this agreement?
I'm sorry, Councilman French.
So part of my reticence about this whole affair is that having, since the city is the one that's going to be working with the land bank, the city is the one that's going to be working with infrastructure issues, whether it be water, sewer, what have you, building, code enforcement, whatever, building contracts, et cetera. The city has to be intimately involved. So whether or not we assign someone from the EDC to be the housing champion or not, the city still is deeply involved. So having the city's general operating when it comes to new construction or new building or renovation of old building has to do with the permitting process, has to do with the inspection process, has to do with appropriate land or zoning changes. So that's what they are going to do. And they would do that with or without having a housing champion. So that's having it. I mean, it's part of the city's strategic plan. It's part of the EDC's strategic plan. And so putting a champion from the EDC by definition, then puts the EDC above the city in terms of making sure things get done. And I'm not comfortable with that. I'm just not. If the council agrees that that's the way it's going to be, then I got to make sure in the contractor agreement that they have to work intimately with all the permitting and code enforcement and all the other stuff that the city already does when it comes to housing.
Okay, what? Attorney Harkness.
So two things. One, part of what you said crossed my mind, which is why I put in a provision that nothing in the agreement will be construed as express or implied authority for the housing collaborator to bind the city to any agreement. So any contract that involves something that the city is required to sign off on has to come before this body for approval, just like it would right now. Some of what the rest of what you discussed would, involve the planning department. Obviously the other sub bodies. I mean, the other sub bodies, like by way of example, planning commission is not a party to this agreement. This agreement won't affect them. In terms of, our code enforcement or our planning director, there's a provision here that I made a comment to where it said obtain access to municipal staff and resources as needed for process. Well, anybody that's a subordinate staff member of the manager, everything has to go through the manager. So if the housing collaborator needs assistance from Ian, it needs to go to the manager. If there's going to be city resources that are, hey, maybe there's something that the council's budgeted, great. And if it's available, go to the city manager. If it's not available and it's a resource we haven't budgeted for, it's going to come before this body. So, I mean, those are things I've contemplated, and I think that addresses some of your concerns. Because I understand your point.
Because I read it.
Councilwoman Wallen?
Thank you so much. So just to recap this and just let me know if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to get the thought together. So the EDC has qualifications to do this plan. To me, if she comes up with the plan and has it all written out, she could come, that's where I feel like the city could come in and, okay, what permits do you need? What do you need from the planning commission? What do you need from the code enforcement? So I feel like the city is the part of what do you need to assist her in getting this done? So am I saying this right, or is my thought off, or that's how I'm looking at this picture? As far as where the city comes in at. If she has a qualification to put the plan together, what's wrong with her leading it and letting us know what she needs to get it done?
So that question is Attorney Harkness.
For anybody.
Okay, so I got a little input. I think what you're saying is on point. The planning and zoning commission has identified where the housing should be housed. In the comprehensive plan, they put together the comprehensive plan. So I think they pretty much already addressed that. It's just figuring out who's going to take ownership of what, and that's what we still have to shore up.
So we have a qualified person. Why are we stuck here?
I agree.
So my input is that the Economic Development Corporation is responsible for a whole lot more than just housing. Regardless of Ms. Ammerman's experience in housing, the Economic Development Corporation is as responsible, if not more so, for the attraction of new businesses to Albion. So if they're spending an awful lot of time on housing, then the question becomes, why are we not working to potentially not being attracting new businesses? Because I think about what's happening in Marshall in 5 years and the supporting industries that will be required to make that battery plant work could be home for thousands of jobs in Albion. And so if we're spending our time working on housing and not on, hey, what does Ford need as ancillary services industries to support the battery plant, then we're missing out on an opportunity. That's all. So Yes, she has lots and lots of experience in housing. It's in her wheelhouse. Absolutely, she has the expertise. But she wasn't hired to do housing in Albion solely. She was hired to bring businesses to Albion. That's all.
Councilman Holly?
Thank you so much. I can remember her saying that she would take the charge of, and help me out, Ms. Virgie, if I'm wrong, something about housing. So I'm pretty sure, almost positive that Ms. Virgie can multitask. I don't think she will ever forget about what her main job is, but she do see a need. She is a qualified person. I believe with all my heart that she can multitask this and get it done. I really do, but that's just my opinion about.
I don't disagree with you.
All right, so if we're good, we can, oh, go ahead.
May we ask if she could come up? Can I ask if she? Okay. Can I ask her to come up and help us clarify some things?
Sure, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, you can address concerns.
Well, I just feel like we just asking, her to do her job, so I didn't think it was nothing wrong with it, Ms. Virgie.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thank you for letting me take a few minutes because I do hope it might help clarify a few things.
Okay.
The role as defined is to be a liaison between property owners, developers, and then the city. The goal is to streamline the desires of all these folks that have great ideas and maybe have great ideas for the same place. But not everybody can know what everybody else is trying to do. The goal is to have a liaison to say to city manager, like I just did last week. I got a lead and I said, here are a couple of places we could do it. What do you think is the best way? Blah, blah, blah. And we now have a tentative plan A and a B and maybe even a C. So the goal is to have external parties know who to come to first. Because if we have too many places that people are entering the system, we could have a lot of inefficiencies. In the past, I think we've had some deals that came undone because of that lack of sort of continuity and the one person who was responsible to keep all parties informed and moving in the same direction. So what I see is somebody who I do have housing experience. I also have business attraction experience, and I'm desperately working on both right now. So if you read the president's report that I've just published for Thursday's meeting at the EDC, you'll see there's plenty of work going on in both arenas. If you don't want the EDC working on housing, then I have to go back to the board and indicate the council doesn't want that. We will then revisit our goals because they do include housing. We would have to then extract those, and then I would have to turn all those projects over to the city manager. I assume that's who else you would want to do that. I'm okay with that, but only one of us can be the external liaison to start to put transactions together. If it's a land bank piece of property, I have to go to the land bank and say, are you interested in doing this? If they say, no, I have another plan, okay, door shut. So it's not like I'm making, or I'm sorry, it's not like the president of CEO of the EDC is making any decisions, just serving as a filter and hoping that by doing that, we actually get more housing. Haven't had a lot of new housing starts, except for Wildflower Crossing, which is awesome. But we need to be more creative and do a lot more than that. So if we hadn't had the mega site, which is a godsend, we wouldn't need so much more housing. So things are very different as of 3 months ago. So this is why the impetus for a catalyst, a person who's sort of pulling and pushing and managing, it's a sales role, right? And it's a sales role because I have all the right experience. If you'd rather not do it this way, I just hope you would be considering what way you would like to do it, because I have a whole list of projects that I would be happy to turn over to whomever's going to pick that work up. So right now I'm ready to hire a staff member to assist me because we have the budget for it. that's kind of the way I see it, but happy to take questions.
I guess I have a question because how does my role as city manager play into that? Because I also am contacted by potential developers, or I work with other organizations to spearhead development. So if we have this liaison person in place and I'm approached by a potential developer, then in return, if you approve this interlocal agreement, do I have to then connect them with this liaison, or can I, as my role as city manager, connect them and do my job to make sure that their project comes to life? That's where
So-
it kind of gets.
So the challenge that we have in Albion is we only have so much land and so much property. And if we have multiple people working with external parties, not knowing what each other's doing, and we're taking up time and energy and money, and we're all working on the same piece of property, it's gonna look pretty embarrassing. So there has to be a way to open up that transparency. This was my recommendation. So that one person was responsible for, hey, is anybody looking at that site? Yeah, I've got somebody. What do you, oh, okay, let's talk about the differences. This town is big and small all at the same time. But there is a limited amount of land and property. So if we are embarrassing ourselves in the larger community and we have developers that think, if I have a developer and someone else has a developer and someone else has a developer and they're all looking at the same piece of property, it gets very confusing. So we want to attract developers. A lot of what we're doing is trying to be developer friendly. Director Arnold mentioned whether there needs to be changes to the ordinances. Those questions will get answered as we begin to talk to developers and say, this is what you're trying to do. Shoot, our ordinance doesn't solve that. Can I go to planning commission and say, what do you think about this? This is the so we have to decide who's got the time to do that part. And this role would be that person that would kind of help prioritize some of that. I heard you say that housing a top priority, and I've heard you say that the new infrastructure for the new industrial park is not a top priority. So it sounds to me like I shouldn't be working on the infrastructure and getting any new companies out of the new industrial park, because that's now a class 3, but housing is a class 1. So I'm happy to partner on the housing if that's a first level priority. I would like to know what we're going to do about the industrial park, but that's a different question. So I think the challenge is we're already all in. We're all in this together, and my role is one of a salesperson. I'm out trying to get everybody to come to Albion, and it would be helpful if we had, you know, the filter and the lens to look at that through. But so I'm not trying to do anybody else's job. The point is somebody has to be the point person for housing, just like somebody has to be the point person for new businesses. Everybody can't be trying to, you know, get somebody into a building downtown. That again looks really embarrassing. So we've got to find a way to have somebody who's in the know so that we're not stubbing our toe, you know, in front of other people.
Councilman Lawler?
Thank you so much. One of the things that I'm really big and stuck on is collaborating, is partnership. And so collaborating with a city entity to get the job done, it sounds pretty cool to me. It seems like we're in a discussion about who's really going to lead this, and not to take anybody's job away, but for the city to find a partner that's already got it going, already got it in place. It's nothing to take away from you, but it is, in my eyes, a great thing to be able to find partnership. If I can smooth it out a little bit better than to, because I feel some traction a little bit, but I think it's just an easy transaction to for y'all to partner, and you to say, well, you know what, city manager, I need this right quick. City manager, jump on it, get it done. Let's just all get it done. Especially if you got something and you can move forward with it. I've heard us talk about in council meetings, do we have a plan? And it sounds like we have a plan already. She's already got a plan. So let's just go with the plan. It's just a recommendation. I'm really excited.
I'm happy to serve in any way, whatever makes most sense.
Great, thank you. All right, on to our next item. Do I have a motion to approve of the replacement of the raw water well number 1.
Support.
City Manager Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So including your packet are quotes to completely rebuild the well pump and well column of pump number 1 in our water department treatment plant. So we did a complete rebuild of well number 2 last January. So this repair was planned for this year and we did have budgeted for this. So we are recommending that we move forward with Northern Pump and Well to complete that project.
Questions for our city manager?
Just,
Mayor Pro
you
Tem
did,
Jackson?
I'm sorry. You did say this is who you've been working with.
Yes, they completed it for the project for last year. And so we have a good relationship with them. We did solicit multiple folks, so we are recommending moving forward with them for this replacement project.
Any other questions? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes,
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve of the replacement of the city servers.
So
So moved. Support.
City Manager Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we have about, I think, 4 different servers that are well over 8 years old. We have IT Right, who is our IT company that we have a service agreement in place. They now go by VC3. They come on site and do routine maintenance and check our servers to make sure that they are secure and up to date. Unfortunately, with them being so old, they can't take on additional upgrades and get to the level of protection that we need. One of them is at its end of life, so we are recommending that we upgrade the new servers and we will be able to move away from some of them. The quote to do this is $23,706.08. This is an eligible expense for ARPA dollars, so we do have funds available to cover this. So we are making the recommendation to move forward with replacing the 4 current servers.
And what bid? With IP Right, and the total is 23.
3706.
Questions for City Manager Snyder? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember French.
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson.
yes,
Lawler.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the upgrade to Microsoft 365.
So moved.
support.
City Manager Snyder?
Thank you, Mayor. So with this, we would upgrade to Microsoft 365 Government, which would allow us to move away from one of the servers that house or holds all of that, our email and that information. So we would move to the cloud with this upgrade, but
So I get everybody's email?
no. But it would just move to the cloud space for storage, and then we would be upgraded with Microsoft, the current model of Microsoft 365. Again, this is an eligible use of ARPA dollars, so total for this upgrade is $14,455. Recommending approval.
Any questions in regards to this item? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes,
Lawler.
Yes.
French,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the Southern Michigan Criminal Justice Training Consortium Agreement.
so moved.
Support.
Chief Kip?
We've been part of this training consortium now for about as long as I've been chief. I think that's why it's probably coming up due that we do this after 10 years. The consortium, the main benefit we get out of it is the ability to do our driver's training yearly at the Michigan International Speedway. We don't have a facility where we can do driver's training like that. And the $800 we pay more than covers what it would cost us to try to do that on our own. So we do some other training with it, but there's departments from Lenawee, Jackson, Eaton, Hillsdale, and I think Branch County now that are all involved with the consortium. So for $850 a year, it's a good deal.
Any questions for Chief Gibb on this? Deputy Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. We have a motion to approve of the expenditure to repair the south clarifier.
So moved.
Support.
City Manager Slater.
Thank you, Mayor. So Jordan Courier, foreman of the wastewater treatment plant, unfortunately discovered on Friday morning that the south clarifier had stopped working. So this mechanism, it rotates around the tank and helps maintain proper sludge and settling from occurring. And it also allows for scum removal on the surface. It is a key function of our wastewater treatment plant. Fortunately, the north clarifier still works, so we are able to continue to operate, but we cannot wait. Our process suffers greatly. The replacement of the clarifiers, they're included in the upcoming wastewater treatment plant project that is being funded through USDA. However, we cannot wait until that project goes to replace this. So I did authorize an emergency expenditure to have that replaced. This is specialized work. So we tried to get as many quotes as possible. We were able to get one, but it's also is not something that we want to drag our time, making sure that we have 3 quotes when we could run into the possibility of a serious health issue in our community with raw sewage. So we did receive a quote from RSG. They were able to get the parts ordered, delivered, and shipped out here. So they have promised that we will be back up and running by April 10th. So we are just recommending formal approval. I mean, it is a costly expense, $61,216. This will be pulled from the ARPA dollars to cover this expense.
Do you have any questions for City Manager Slater? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Public comment, if anybody would like to.
Future agenda items.
Future agenda items. Anything particular? Yep, Attorney Hartness.
I have already sent the memo to the clerk. I need a closed session for the next meeting. Cool.
Any other future agenda items? Right now we have public comments. If anybody would like to stand and address council, you may do so at this time, and 3 minutes will be given to you. Does anybody know?
I don't know if Mr. Avery, I think he was planning to share the upcoming Habitat project.
Sorry, I'm trying to do 5 things.
Typical Habitat guy, 5 things all at once.
Hi, Scott Avery, 24177 F Drive South, Homer, Michigan. Been here a number of times, and it is Habitat involved again. You had asked me to come before the council to inform you when Habitat was going to be doing something within the city confines. We will be here April 11th, 12th, and 13th. Replacing a roof on Terpenning. If anyone is interested in showing up, giving, serving, raising shingles, tearing off a roof, or if you're interested in just seeing the project and the before and after, the work hours for our crews are generally 9 to 3. So we'll start again as I said, on the 11th, and we'll be done. We're hoping to be done by the 13th, barring it's a job, so it's in horrible shape. So what we're digging into, we may find more, so we may be there longer, but that is not what we're expecting. So I'm not sure whose district that or whose precinct that is, but 9 to 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Come on down.
Did you get a call from anyone?
Oh, that's.
I'm
right.
sorry.
Switched. so
Did you get a call from anyone
As far as,
Getting people to come and help.
no. Nope, we haven't gotten a call from, so that's the other thing besides council members, and employees of the city. If you have people that you have made or can make contact with, we can use help again. As in all habitat projects, come for an hour, stay all day. Stay the rest of your time here on this blue marble. We'll take it all. So I just wanted to, since you had asked me to come in when we are going to start doing stuff here in town, this is why I'm here. Sir,
Is there a Habitat Facebook page that's shareable?
that is Cheryl as far.
I can take your post about the turpentine thing and share it to my Facebook post, my Facebook.
There, we have a Facebook page. I can ask our executive director to put that on there.
Yeah.
So that then it can be shared.
That's
Okay.
But
I
we
can do
also
that.
should have all received an email
Correct.
about this.
Yeah.
So we have that information.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Even.
That's what he's saying.
Okay.
He-
So-
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited as someone who's from this area. I'm excited that we're finally here besides the house that's across the street that we had finished a year ago. Now we're back and I'm hoping to make this a thing that is
Good.
constantly seen. So thank you.
Appreciate
I'm past my time. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else in the gallery?
I just want to piggyback off of Mr. Avery's comment about habitat. Currently, we don't have anything in place where our staff are allowed to, take time off to volunteer. So I think that if you all consider at some point down the road as a morale booster, even for our own staff, to consider giving them a day's worth of paid community leave, where they can go visit their local elementary school or participate in Habitat for Humanity, maybe 8 hours out the entire year. I know some employers offer that as a benefit. I think the co-op company offers that where they have it's called a community service leave where they get 8 hours. So just something to think about in the future. Great.
Anybody?
I'm Harry R. Gamble III, a Rabbit. I'm looking to finish up my business plan. And the issue I'm having right now is I need to know numbers of operation. What I'm looking at is need to know if the city will let me run 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 24 hours a day. Same way, 5 days or 7 days. I even have numbers if we run 12 hours, if we run 24 hours, then the price will go up to help out with the police department and all that, to try to prevent people from getting on the scooters and bikes. But at the same time, it is still running, operating. I've sat down with some college students and some college members. They're on board with the idea, they like it. Now I just need to put all my numbers together.
Help out with that.
Anybody else? Okay, city managers report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So a copy of my report was included. So brief updates, just a reminder that City Hall will be closed this Friday, April 7th. I typoed in my initial report, I had the 5th. It is the 7th. So for Good Friday. Very exciting week last week, the Big Albion Plan. So the first phase of the Big Albion Plan was approved by the MEDC Michigan Strategic Fund Board on Tuesday, March 28th for funding. I know this project or discussion has been in the works for several years. So to get to this point is very exciting. I know they anticipate starting construction this year. That project will redevelop 9 functionally obsolete properties to create 20 residential units and more than 10,000 square feet of commercial space. So that is expected to generate a total capital investment of $9.4 million in our downtown area. An employee recognition program. Director Avant has developed a quarterly employee recognition program that will roll out this quarter. It's hard to believe that we are already into the second quarter of the year. So stay tuned for a formal announcement. I know he's been working with some of local businesses to see if they could donate some incentives or rewards that we could offer to our employees who go above and beyond and have been nominated for this award. So we appreciate the businesses supporting this city initiative. Yard waste collection. So the yard waste collection through Granger will begin this Wednesday, April 5th through November 30th. Acceptable yard waste items include brush, grass clipping, leaves, and tree trimmings. Bags or carts should not have soil, animal waste, plastic, twine, or trash. When speaking with our Granger rep, I know we had issues last year with contaminated yard waste. And that means that's one of the unacceptable items were found in the trash can or the yard waste bulk container. They do sort that when they take it back to the dump. This year, if you have a contaminated item, you will see an orange, kind of like a Post-it card. They said that they will leave it on top of your container, letting you know that you had unacceptable items that are not allowed. So just be mindful of that. But that will begin this Wednesday and through November 30th. Our 2022 audit will kick off, I believe, this week. Auditors will be on site. So they'll work through this week and then we'll come before you once we receive that final report for them to do a presentation to council. Included, you will see grant reporting. I did include a colored copy on your desk. There is a key that highlights different status of some of the grant awards or grants that are currently in process. So right now we've gone back. I think the latest one is 2020, which is the North Albion Street Bridge. Please review this. If there are additional information that you would like, please let us know and we will tweak this to include other info. But right now you kind of see the project name and description, the amount that we are awarded, the status, if our award was accepted, if it's just been submitted, or if it was denied, progress, and then agency info. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a question regarding our contract with Granger. One of my constituents called me and told me that he had contacted Granger regarding recycling. Are we paying extra for that service?
We are not. So that is included in the quarterly fee that we pay.
So the reason I bring it up is that Granger informed my constituent that there is, quote, no market for recycling. So there's everything that we're recycling and paying extra money for the blue bags are ending up in the landfill.
Oh.
So if you could confirm that for us so that we don't have to spend money on blue containers that are not actually being recycled, that'd be great.
Sure will. Thank you.
Any other questions for city manager in regards to her report? All right, council member comments. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Just a quick one. I know Superintendent O'Brien went out to 10-12. Your guys did. I think we need to also go back out there. What we can do for is 10-12 South Superior Street. When that tree fell down on her property. I know I don't want to get to it. I don't want to get too in depth yeah, because of the fact not knowing what the city can do or cannot do due to the tree that fell and broke her. So I'm just asking that you go back and do an assessment to see what, because she's been trying to get that, she was trying to get that tree down for quite some time and knew it was going to fall. And the person before you said a few things and then, you you intervened, then there's other stuff behind that as well. Like a little riddle right now, but I have to keep going. Yep.
I guess that's 10-12 South Superior. Currently, the tree is a target to get down. Right now, it's not a danger. What I would consider danger to home or extreme harm or any whoever that tree will be coming down. I did inform that I did not.
Okay. So isn't that the tree that fell? That's the tree that already failed.
So that tree did not fall.
That one did.
That branch broke off that.
Okay.
Landed, hit the fence and then
Okay,
it
so
was part of that tree.
it was part of the tree. Okay, all right, okay, thank you.
Any other council member comment? Yes.
I'd like to bring one other comment to the council, and if you do that, if you think our tree dump schedule starts Saturday, April 8th, 8 AM to noon. So the tree dump will be, there will be a person there, passes are available here at City Hall. I believe, but it's almost like,
Is there a schedule?
Yeah, the schedule's posted.
yeah, schedule, I believe, schedule on city website.
Great.
And the schedule is also on Impact by all the way to there.
Councilman Williams?
There was recently a group of local youth that traveled to New York City. I believe they're students of Concord School, but they're from Albion. They were on the front of the newspaper. I'm wondering if there's not something maybe we could present them with or bring them up here and congratulate them on the success that they've had recently. You know,
That's a great idea.
just reaching out.
That's a great idea.
Also this Saturday, as many of you know, is the large Easter egg hunt in Victory Park. Been there for the past couple of years and it keeps growing. So it is pretty cool to see not only kids from our community, but kids from surrounding communities come and enjoy that little event. Hoping that the weather holds out. Can't remember the time. Noon. Okay.
So it's now an exceptional event now?
It is
The
exceptional.
largest event, isn't it?
Yeah, at least around here it is.
It'd be a lot of kids.
Yeah, a lot of kids and a lot of hard work. So I
Yeah.
do want to give a huge shout out to Audra and Nate Masternet.
Fuentes.
Fuentes, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Audra Masternet Fuentes, who put all of this together. They coordinate the volunteers, they coordinate all the donations, they coordinate packing all those plastic eggs and keep them together, filled with candy. So yeah, it's just a huge event. So if you've never been this Saturday noon, it truly is something to behold.
Let's hope for a sunshiny day.
Yes, exactly.
Sunshine.
Yes, that's yes.
Yeah,
Past
there we
couple
go.
have been cold. Motion to excuse Councilwoman Davis.
So moved.
Support.
Thanks, City Clerk Domingo, was that an all vote that we can do on that?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned, 9:01 PM. What is this?
Time for what?
So this was one.